Ferda Roznova is standing in his father's office when one order changes his whole life. He must marry Grand Duchess Valdrova, the Crimson Dragon. His father, Arambalt, speaks as if this is a simple duty. But Ferda sees two deadly choices. If he refuses, the Roznova family will throw him away. If he accepts, he may end up beside a dragon feared across the land. To Ferda, this engagement feels less like a wedding and more like a sentence. That fear hurts, because Ferda has spent years trying to earn one thing, a place in this family. He is the weak third son of a night house, born to a concubine. Servants laugh while he trains alone, saying he has no talent and will never improve. Ferda still runs until he can hardly breathe and swings his sword until his hands hurt. Every day, he tells himself that if he keeps trying, his father may finally look at him like a real son. For a short time, young Ferda can even smile through the pain. Then his older brother, Huron, arrives. Huron mocks the idea that Ferda has started night training and knocks him down without mercy. He attacks Ferda's birth, his eyes, and his right to carry the Roznova name. Worse, someone from the family watches from a window and simply turns away. As Ferda kneels alone in the courtyard, he finally understands that hard work will never make these people accept him. So Ferda refuses the engagement and tells Arambalt that he will leave. His father does not stop him. He removes Ferda from the family as easily as if he were closing a door. Outside the Golden Estate Gate, Ferda looks at the hand he damaged through years of useless training. The hope inside him finally dies. In its place comes rage. Red mana answers that rage, and as Ferda walks into the night with one small bag, his first magic begins to burn around him. Ferda had first awakened as a mage at 10, but he began serious study far later than other students. Once again, people laughed at him. They said his mind was too slow to understand even the basic rules. Ferda no longer cared about their approval. He reached for the strongest feeling inside him and formed a red circle, a kind of magic fed by violent emotion. Hatred became fuel. The more he hated someone, the faster his power grew until the men who mocked him lay defeated at his feet. Years later, Ferda reaches the sixth circle and returns to the Roznova mansion as an archmage. He does not destroy the house with one spell. He makes the people inside destroy each other. The servants who insulted him turn their knives on one another. His two older brothers are driven into a deadly fight. At last, Ferda forces Arambalt to look at the bodies and asks whether this is the proud family he built. His father breaks, but Ferda feels no peace at all. Standing in the ruined office, Ferda waits for revenge to make him happy. It never does. His hatred only spreads farther. Powerful people across the continent call him a murderer and surround him for judgment, but Ferda survives every attack. In time, even kings bow before him. He reaches the 8th circle, the highest level a human can normally reach, and becomes a great mage. Still, one fear remains. Everyone he hurt may seek revenge, just as he did. Ferda decides that only absolute power can keep him safe. Ferda fills a room with books and searches for the 9th circle, a level said to turn a mage into a demigod. At last he finds the final part of the ritual, the heart of an ancient dragon. The old record names one possible target, Grand Duchess Valdrova. The same woman he once ran from is now the key to the power he wants most. Ferda drives a dagger into her picture, follows a mountain road beneath the moon, and enters the remote ruins where the Crimson Dragon lives. A brutal fight has already left both of them wounded. Valdrova lies across the broken ground in her huge dragon form, and Ferda can barely remain standing. She sees the cruel joke at once. The human chosen as her fiancé has come to kill her. Ferda calls her a tyrant and orders her to die. Yet Valdrova does not answer with rage. She says humans have called her a monster for years, even though she has stayed far from their world and has never shown herself to Ferda before. Ferda refuses to listen. He points at Valdrova and blames her for everything. In his mind, her wish for a human mate caused the engagement, his banishment, and every bloody choice that followed. Valdrova asks if that pain is truly her fault. Ferda shouts that it is. For the first time, the dragon's hard face changes. She lowers one claw and quietly says that she understands. Ferda thinks her strange reaction does not matter. He gathers the last of his mana and prepares to finish the battle. Then Valdrova turns her power against herself. Her huge body twists, and one claw drives toward her own chest. Ferda suddenly understands the plan. She knows his 9th circle ritual needs an undamaged dragon heart, so she is trying to ruin it before he can take it. Panic tears through him. This heart is his only path beyond the 8th circle. Ferda casts his strongest spell, screams for Valdrova to stop, and throws the full attack at her chest before her claw can destroy his prize. The explosion throws Ferda across the ruins and brings the Crimson Dragon down. When the smoke clears, a golden light is still shining. Valdrova's heart is intact, but Ferda has not taken it. The dying dragon is holding it out to him. She tells him to take it freely. Ferda can only stare. Valdrova was strong enough to kill him, so why would she give him the very thing he came to steal? Her answer begins to break the story Ferda has told himself for years. Valdrova says that Ferda became miserable because of her, and she believes him. Then she reveals the prison inside Crimson Dragon blood. It carries a constant urge to rage and destroy. Valdrova has hated that part of herself for a very long time. In the past, humans ran from her power and from the fires around her. Her very existence filled people with fear. She once dreamed of happiness, but now she calls that dream foolish. If her death helps Ferda, she sees it as one final good act. Ferda is left standing beside a dragon who chose his happiness over her own life. Guilt begins to rise, but he fights it. He tells himself that Valdrova is only confusing him and that he must remember why he came. The ninth circle is right in front of him. Ferda takes the ancient heart and begins the ritual. A red circle forms at his chest while the golden heart shines above him. He expects power great enough to place him beyond every human enemy. The heart enters Ferda's body, and golden light tears through him. The ground explodes. Stones fly, his eyes burn, and his body rises inside a white storm of mana. This should be the moment he becomes a demigod. Instead, Ferda feels lost. The light does not lift him above the world. It pulls him into something deep and heavy. When he looks down at his glowing hands, he realizes that the dragon's heart has given him far more than raw energy. Valdrova's memories and feelings close around Ferda. He sees the outline of her human form and feels an endless depth of loneliness. Her sorrow is not one bad day or one lost fight. It is the weight of an ancient life spent fearing her own blood while still trying to reach the world. The force strikes Ferda so hard that he can barely stand. For the first time, he is not judging Valdrova from outside. He is feeling the pain she carried in silence. Now Ferda compares Valdrova's ancient despair with the hatred that ruled his own life. His anger suddenly seems small. She lived with power that could destroy cities, yet she kept trying to hold it back. Even at the end, she wanted to help the man who came to kill her. Ferda finally sees that he blamed Valdrova for choices made by his family and by himself. The truth crushes him. He falls into the empty space, crying, and asks what he has done. Ferda searches his own past for the reason he wanted power so badly. Was it fame? Revenge? The ninth circle? His memory shows a lonely little boy sitting at a table. That child is not drawing a throne or a magic circle. He's drawing a family standing together beneath a green tree. Ferda understands at last. Before pain changed him, he only wanted a simple home, people who accepted him, and a peaceful life. Everything after that was a broken path toward the same wish. Then Ferda sees Valdrova in human form before an open door and wonders if she wanted the same thing. A home, a family, a life where no one feared her. But the image fades, and Ferda wakes beside the body he created. He cries over the dragon and over the woman hidden inside her. Reaching the ninth circle no longer matters. Revenge no longer matters. Revenge no longer matters. Valdrova is dead by his hand, and no amount of new power can give meaning to that victory. But the ninth circle gives Ferda one final choice. He casts Wish, a spell strong enough to change what should be impossible. A huge golden circle opens around him, and the price is his own body. Ferda breaks apart into ash as the magic takes him. Then he opens his eyes in a bright office. Arembold is alive behind the same desk. The ruined father Ferda, left in the first life, is now speaking to him as if none of that blood has happened yet. The engagement paper lies between them again. Arembold repeats that Ferda will marry Grand Duchess Valdrova and begins the same warning about refusal. This time, Ferda does not freeze. He rises from his chair and calmly says he understands. In his first life, he ran from the dragon, built his future on hatred, and killed the one person who shared his true wish. Now he places a hand over his heart and accepts the engagement. Ferda has returned, and this time he is going to meet Valdrova before it is too late. Ferda's answer spreads through the Rosnova house before he can even leave. Huron hears that his weak younger brother accepted the dragon engagement and comes looking for the panic he expects. Instead, he finds Ferda fully dressed, his bags packed, and his servants dismissed. Ferda even asks why Huron entered without knocking. The calm response leaves Huron confused. This is not the boy he could knock down in the yard. Ferda remembers an entire life that Huron knows nothing about, and he has no reason to fear his brother now. Gureen tries another weapon, Valdrova's last fiancé. The Empire's third prince was handsome, brilliant, and loved by the people. He even refused the chance to become the next emperor and went to claim the dragon as his bride. Yet he came back badly beaten and never took the position. Gureen asks how Ferda could succeed where such a perfect man failed. Ferda already knows the answer is more complex, but he says nothing yet. He simply listens while Huron turns the old tragedy into one more threat. Gureen warns Ferda not to run from the family's order and claims he will cut off Ferda's head himself. Ferda answers with one quiet attack that hits far harder than a fist. He tells Huron that everyone has noticed the way he looks at their eldest brother's wife. Gureen turns red and rushes at him, but Ferda blocks the moment with one raised hand. He is not the helpless child who could be pushed aside anymore. Leaving his furious brother behind, Ferda walks toward the carriage on his own terms. An old servant bows beside the carriage and pretends that serving Ferda was an honor. Ferda remembers the truth. As a child, he thought his body was naturally weak and sick. Only later did he learn that this man had been putting something in his food. In the first life, that memory made Ferda want to kill him. He even imagines grabbing the traitor by the throat. But now he only fixes the servant's tie, thanks him for his years of work, and tells him to care for the Rosnovas after he leaves. As the mansion disappears behind the carriage, Ferda notices something strange. He feels no anger. He already took revenge in the first life, so that need has finally gone quiet. He remembers how red mana once acted like a drug. Each burst of hatred felt exciting, and every victory made him want a larger one. Soon the power was controlling him. Valdrova's heart broke that madness and gave him this clear mind. Ferda does not want the old strength back if it means becoming that cruel man again. There is one problem. Without hatred, Ferda does not know whether he can awaken as a mage at all, and he may need the fourth circle to survive the future. Before he can solve that problem, the driver stops at a wooden warning sign and refuses to go farther. This is the edge of the Grand Duchess's forbidden land. The carriage races away the moment Ferda steps out, leaving him alone with his luggage. Then a figure appears among the trees. A small maid has come to meet him. The maid gives a perfect bow and introduces herself as Lurian, Valdrova's attendant. She will guide Ferda to the castle. Their path crosses the eastern land that even the Arkan Empire could not control. Monsters killed soldiers and kept the empire from moving forward. The person who stopped that advance was Valdrova. The dragon humans call evil built the only line keeping the creatures back. Ferda now sees how badly history treated her. People enjoyed her protection while spreading stories that she secretly raised the very monsters she fought. Those monsters are not only part of an old story. Dark beasts follow Ferda through the forest, and one attacks before he can react. Lurian barely moves. A small release of her presence makes the creatures retreat. Ferda understands that this quiet maid carries dragon blood. Beneath the uniform, she has scales, a tail, hidden horns, and magic far above an ordinary servant. Lurian says the 2-hour walk takes her only 10 seconds when she flies alone. Ferda realizes that Valdrova's household is dangerous. Lurian offers to fly Ferda to the lair, but there is one embarrassing condition. She would have to carry him in her arms. Ferda refuses. He claims no great reason, he simply does not want that. So the former 8th Circle mage spends 2 painful hours dragging a suitcase up the mountain, while Lurian watches. She will not even allow a rest because her master is waiting. By sunset, Ferda reaches a pair of doors large enough for a dragon. He looks tiny before them, exhausted but still standing on his own feet. Then Ferda feels Valdrova before he sees her. The pressure behind the doors makes his hand shake. Lurian stops him and explains that he cannot speak to the Grand Duchess directly. Her words will pass through the attendant. Valdrova's presence asks whether someone like Ferda has the right to stand before her. A huge red dragon image fills the hall as Lurian delivers the answer. Valdrova respects his courage in coming, but she will not accept an engagement forced on her by the Empire. She orders Ferda to return home. The Ferda from the first life would have turned around at once. The man standing here now raises one open hand. He admits that the engagement began with his father's order, but says the command is no longer the reason he remains. He came by his own will and wants to continue. Valdrova gives him another way out. A heavy bag of coins drops in front of him, followed by enough treasure to start a new life far from the Rosnovas. The offer is generous, but it also tests what Ferda truly wants. Ferda kneels among silver and gold, and refuses all of it. He does not want Valdrova's money, land, or political power. He wants only the engagement to her. That answer finally breaks Lurian's calm face. She laughs once, drives down her fist, and orders him to leave. Ferda points out that this is no longer a message from Valdrova. Lurian agrees. She is speaking as the attendant who has protected her master from selfish humans for years, and she has decided that Ferda will not take another step. Corns rise from Lurian's head. Her nails sharpen and green force explodes through the hall. Dragon fear hits Ferda like a wall. He raises his arms, but the pressure throws him down and makes every breath painful. Lurian says she knows what mortals are like. In her eyes, Ferda is only another man hiding greed behind polite words. As he struggles on the stone, Ferda finally understands why the third prince never became Valdrova's husband. The famous prince did not arrive with love. He arrived with a plan. The third prince brought a sealed marriage pact and believed Valdrova's power could serve his own rise. The dragon saw through him, and Lurian now sees the same danger in Ferda. She steps closer while her aura crushes his chest. Ferda cannot stand and can barely breathe. Lurian asks whether he deceived her master and whether he wants to die like the prince. This is the real test. Ferda has no magic, no family support, and no way to defeat her. All he can offer is the truth. Ferda presses one hand over his heart and forces himself upright. He swears that there is no lie in his words. No one forced him to come, and he wants no reward. He remembers the dying Valdrova offering her heart to the selfish man he once was. That gift is the reason he has a second life at all. Ferda opens both hands and promises that this time he will become her ally, even when the whole world stands against her. He did not come to use a dragon. He came as the man who truly intends to become Valdrova's fiancé. Ferda's promise should end the argument, but Lurian is still ready to attack. He repeats that a future husband should speak to Valdrova directly, not through an angry attendant. Lurian calls him shameless, yet something stops her claw. She asks for a moment and carries his words deeper into the lair. There, a small golden light passes the message to the being hidden in the darkness. Ferda has survived the first test, but now the Crimson Dragon herself must decide whether his strange courage is worth another look. Valdrova is not only a monster in a cave, she is one of the 12 rulers, a being of absolute power, and she can take the form of a red-haired woman with black horns. Instead of rejecting Ferda again, she becomes curious. Lurian calls him weak, awkward, and first claims he is ugly before admitting his face is rather pretty. The useful truth comes last. Ferda endured dragon fear and did not look afraid. Valdrova smiles. A human who can meet a dragon's gaze may be someone she can finally face in a normal way. A go allows the engagement to move forward, and Lurian brings Ferda to a clean guest room. The word guest matters. Until a ceremony is held, Lurian refuses to call him Valdrova's fiancé. The ceremony will happen quietly inside the lair in 1 month. There will be no grand crowd to impress and no noble family to protect him. Ferda thinks the date gives him time to prepare, but Lurian adds a harder condition. The month is also his deadline. Before he stands beside one of the world's strongest beings, he must prove that his weak body holds enough potential to deserve that place. And a test comes from Lurian, not Valdrova. She points at Ferda and says her master might ignore his weakness, but a loyal attendant cannot. Ferda is not insulted. He respects how clearly Lurian protects Valdrova and wonders why this devoted servant was missing when the dragon died in the first timeline. That mystery can wait. Ferda jokes that perhaps he should become emperor, but Lurian gives a simpler goal: gain enough ability that other great beings cannot look down on him. Ferda accepts and promises results within the month. His confidence is not empty. Even though his young body has no power, Ferda kept the knowledge and sensations of a ninth circle mage. Mages are rare on this continent, and no teacher could give him experience like that. Alone in the guest room, he reaches inward and searches for the first spark of mana. If the memory inside his soul still answers, he may be able to rebuild his strength. Yet the first circle is more than a starting point. The path he chooses now will decide what kind of mage he becomes again. Ferda knows 2 ways forward. A blue circle is formed through calm meditation. It grows slowly, but its mana remains stable. A red circle is born from violent feelings. It can create power at terrible speed, but the emotion may consume its owner and turn him into a madman. Hatred carried Ferda all the way to the 8th circle before, so repeating that path would be easy. He remembers the blood, Valdrova's body, and the person he became. This time he chooses blue. He begins meditating with a firm promise that he will not return to madness. 1 week passes, and Ferda still cannot complete the circle. That should not be surprising. A blue circle normally takes at least 3 years, but Ferda expected his old experience to cut the time sharply. Now only 3 weeks remain. The calm path is testing something hatred never demanded from him: patience. During the quiet meal, he admits that repeating the same method may not be enough. Then the room begins to shake. Ferda first thinks monsters are attacking the lair. Lurian explains that the opposite is happening. Valdrova is personally destroying the creatures that crossed into the eastern edge. Ferda immediately asks to see the battle. Lurian warns him that no human mind can endure Valdrova's true power and that collapsing there would only disgrace him before the wedding. Ferda refuses to hide. If he wants to become her partner, then watching what she faces is part of his duty. Lurian finally agrees and carries him through the sky. Her speed is almost equal to teleportation. By the time they land on a distant hill, Ferda drops to his knees, sick from the flight, while Lurian looks completely calm. Lurian tells Ferda to stand and look ahead. At first, he sees only a dark purple shape beyond the green ridge, then the full valley comes into view. Giant serpentine monsters cover the land, their bodies twisting over one another like an army with no end. Ferda and Lurian are tiny above them. This is the eastern front that human soldiers could not hold. Somewhere inside that moving mass is Valdrova, fighting alone. Ferda came hoping to understand his future bride, and now he is about to see the side of her that terrifies an empire. A violent blast splits the monster swarm. Fire lights the valley, and Valdrova dives through it in her true dragon form. She does not fight like a distant noble giving orders. She throws her own body into the center of the horde. Enemies rush from every side, yet one strike from her sends them flying. Ferda watches in silence as the being he once blamed for everything becomes the wall protecting the human world. This is not the lonely wounded dragon he killed. This is Valdrova at full strength. More creatures surround Valdrova, including huge pale and purple heads that snap at her from the flames. She tears into the closest enemy, twists away from another, and crushes a monster before it can close its jaws. Her golden eye never leaves the battlefield. Every movement is direct and brutal because one mistake would let the horde move west. Ferda now understands why Lurian laughed at the idea of an ordinary human standing beside her. Valdrova is carrying a war that most people do not even dare to witness. Valdrova rises above the monsters and draws in a breath. Light grows inside her jaws, then fire breath floods the valley. The attack is not a small spell. It is a moving wall of flame that swallows entire bodies and turns the battlefield orange. Even from the cliff, the wind and heat reach Ferda. Lurian stands without concern because she has seen this power before. Ferda has not. He wanted proof of the life Valdrova lives, and each second shows him how far his present strength is from hers. Then Valdrova releases a dragon roar. The sound tears across the land and hits Ferda like a physical blow. He covers one ear, but the pressure still throws him to the ground. His chest tightens while Valdrova's golden eyes burn through the smoke below. Lurian looks down at him and asks whether he finally understands. A human joining a dragon is not a sweet promise. It means standing beside this force and facing the same enemies. Courage brought Ferda here, but courage without strength cannot share Valdrova's burden. He must rebuild his power until he can protect the land at her side. The burning valley before Ferda is the truth. Ferda lies shaking on the cliff, and Lurian believes the lesson is over. She points toward Valdrova's huge dragon body and explains the danger inside crimson dragon blood. It carries a natural urge to destroy life. Valdrova may be kind, but that dark force still lives inside her power. A weak human who stays near it could lose his mind. Lurian asks Ferda to understand the truth. Becoming Valdrova's partner means facing this monster-filled world again and again. In her eyes, no human can endure it. Lurian says resolve alone will never be enough. She looks at the red dragon below and claims Valdrova's dream of sharing life with a human cannot come true. But when Ferda raises his head, he is smiling. The answer that leaves his mouth is simple. Valdrova is magnificent. He does not see an evil beast. He sees someone using terrifying power to protect others. Ferda holds the red pendant at his chest and smiles with open respect. Lurian expected fear, yet she finds honest admiration instead. Lurian can hardly accept what she heard. Ferda is not pretending to be brave. He truly admires the dragon who just dropped him to the ground. That night, his body pays the price. Dragon fear and dragon roar have left him unable to move, so Lurian must carry him back. Ferda considers it a miracle that his mind survived. Still, one problem remains. He has lost another full day, and the 1-month test is moving forward. If he cannot open a circle soon, admiration will not help him stand beside Valdrova. Ferda remembers why he demanded to watch the battle. Lying beneath the open sky, he studies every feeling it created. Valdrova's roar was frightening, and her flames could erase armies, yet she hides that true form at the eastern edge and fights alone so ordinary people can live safely. In Ferda's mind, the savage dragon becomes a proud red knight. She accepts pain, danger, and loneliness to protect what she loves. As he thinks about her duty, one feeling becomes stronger than fear. Once again, Ferda calls her magnificent. Then red light gathers over Ferda's chest. He knows this sign. A red circle is trying to form. Ferda immediately fights it, because red mana once grew from his anger and revenge. That road gave him power, but it also destroyed his judgment and led him to kill Valdrova. He refuses to repeat the same life. However, the mana does not vanish. It becomes clearer whenever he remembers Valdrova fighting for humanity. Her image stands behind him like a red knight, and Ferda realizes this circle has a completely different source. This emotion is not anger. It is not revenge. It is admiration. Ferda stops rejecting the red mana and begins controlling it. The power spins around him like a violent storm, ready to scatter if his focus slips. He holds the memory of Valdrova in his mind, gathers the flow between his hands, and forces it into a smaller space. The red current becomes faster and denser. Ferda has walked this dangerous path before, but now he gives it a new reason. He will use the color of his past without repeating its hatred. Ferda focuses every part of his mind on that single feeling. He brings his hands together, compresses the mana, and makes it turn faster. Red sparks strike across his body as the unstable energy resists him. Then the bright mass closes into a perfect ring. A complete red circle floats over his palm. Ferda has opened his mana circuits in one night. The result looks like his former power, but its heart is different. This time the circle was born because he respects Valdrova, and Ferda decides that this new beginning will create a different future. By morning, Ferda is dressed and calm. Lurian rushes into his room, stunned that someone who could barely stand yesterday has awakened as a mage overnight. Ferda admits he is not a normal person, though he keeps the truth of his past life hidden. He has met the first condition, but he knows one circle is only the beginning. He asks for a place to practice, and Lurian builds an entire outdoor field in half a day. Straw targets wait in rows, giving Ferda the perfect place to test his control. Lurien expects expensive magic tools, but Ferda only wants targets. He explains that he must train mana control. Blue circle magic begins with calm stability. His red circle is the opposite. He must create strong emotion while keeping that emotion under control. In his first life, drawing mana out of that violent current took 1 year. Compressing it into a sphere took another year. Now Ferda closes his eyes and repeats the same technique with all the knowledge of a 9th circle mage. A difficult task that once consumed 2 years takes only 2 minutes. A tiny red spear appears above Ferda's finger without a drop of sweat. Lurien stares as he creates 3 stable mana bullets at once. Ferda points toward the practice field and fires. The red shots cross the ground and explode against their target. He even checks his own body afterward, pleased that the spell did not tear him apart. To Lurien, this is beyond talent. Ferda awakened yesterday and already controls magic on his first training day, yet the cleaner his success looks, the more suspicious she becomes. A Warrian reports everything to Valdrova. Ferda awakens soon after reaching the lair, made no mistakes, and completed every task placed before him. Valdrova does not know how rare that is, so she asks for Lurien's honest view. Lurien admits that Ferda seems more impressive each time they speak. That is exactly what frightens her. No ordinary human should be this perfect. She believes he must be hiding something. But Valdrova remembers his promise and chooses to trust his pure intentions. She offers Lurien a direct way to test that trust. Just as Ferda enters Before Ferda enters the hall, the Eastern Lords have already judged him. They complain about being called away from monster attacks and laugh at the Grand Duchess's new fiancé. To them, Ferda is only an 18-year-old failure from the Rosnova Knight family, a boy who could not even use a sword. Count Overa Cancillas sits at the head of the table and predicts Valdrova will soon throw him away. Their laughter stops when the doors open. Ferda walks inside in a red coat with Lurien quietly following behind him. Ferda did not ask for this political meeting, but Lurien explains why it matters. Long ago, the Black Dragon Godwyn helped create the Demon King. Valdrova was the one who defeated that dragon. The Empire rewarded her with the title of Grand Duchess and control of the Eastern Territory. Her main duty is stopping the endless monsters at the border. If Ferda becomes her husband, he must handle the people, money, and lords inside that land. Ferda closes his book and understands the hidden question. Can he carry half of Valdrova's burden? Ferda introduces himself as Valdrova's future husband and asks how the lords want to be treated. They think his first words show weakness. One claims they all live beneath the Grand Duchess's light. Another says they naturally deserve respect from her consort. Count Overa reminds Ferda that these men served the Empire before he was even born. The room waits for the young outsider to bow. Ferda lowers his head for a moment, then looks up with a cold blue eye. Their demand has given him all the information he needs. Overa says Ferda may speak down to them, and Ferda calmly accepts. Becoming consort will not directly change how they control their lands. They can continue as before, whether they govern kindly or bleed their own people dry. One lord slams the table and shouts that Ferda has called them criminals. Ferda says it was only a poor choice of words, but the man attacks his past. He mocks the son abandoned by a knight family and says Ferda only has a place here because he is Valdrova's fiancé. Ferda asks the angry lord one question: what is his magic rank? The man proudly answers that he is 4th circle. Ferda calls that average. For a respected mage, the word is a direct insult. Red mana bursts around the man's body as he promises to teach Ferda manners. Ferda raises one hand and offers a cleaner solution. They will duel. The proud 4th circle mage can test his skill against Ferda, who has only just reached 1st circle. The room accepts because everyone believes the result is obvious. The duel moves to a stone arena. Lurien watches as Ferda and the older mage take their places. Ferda asks what spell his opponent plans to use. The man calls the question rude, then proudly reveals 4th tier Magic Blast, a destructive spell that could kill a 1st circle mage in one hit. Ferda answers just as openly. He only knows Mana Shot. The crowd laughs at that basic spell, but Ferda remains calm. His old knowledge tells him that a battle is decided by timing and control, not only by the size of a magic circle. The 4th circle mage gathers enough power to erase Ferda without a trace. A huge spell formation spreads across the arena, filled with dense killing intent. Ferda notices that his opponent is raising the output on purpose. Still, he shows no fear. 3 small red spheres form at his hands. The older mage sees only weak mana shots and thinks Ferda has no chance, but Ferda knows exactly where every part of the larger spell must connect. He does not need to overpower Magic Blast. Ferda fires. His mana bullets fly past the mage instead of striking his body. The man throws up a defense, but that is not Ferda's target. Each red shot hits a key point in the unfinished spell circle. Cracks spread through the complex structure, while Ferda calmly controls more spheres. The 4th circle mage finally understands. Ferda aimed at the magic itself during the short moment before completion. One precise attack turns the huge advantage into a weakness. The entire circle shatters. Red light sweeps across the arena, and the older mage stares behind him in terror. Lurian shields her face from the blast. Even she cannot believe this control belongs to a first circle mage. The failed caster drops to the ground, shaking and unable to form another spell. Ferda stands above him and asks for his surrender. The match ends without Ferda ever needing a stronger attack. Everyone came to watch an inexperienced boy be crushed. Instead, they have seen him defeat a mage 3 circles above him. The defeated man admits his loss, and Ferda helps him stand. He calls himself Thessalos Vulture, a mage recently sent away from the capital. That name changes everything. Ferda remembers Thessalos from his former life and calls him a benefactor, though Thessalos has not met him yet in this timeline. But Ferda also knows the future hidden behind the friendly face. If Thessalos lives, he will bring despair to Valdrova. Ferda points one finger, fires mana shot, and drops him before the horrified lords. Protecting his future bride matters more than any debt from his past. The duel is over, but Thessalos lies dead at Ferda's feet. The Eastern Lords freeze. A noble has been killed in front of them, and a young man holding the weapon does not look afraid. Blood marks Ferda's cheek as he asks why everyone is so tense. He says Thessalos deserved to die. If that man had lived, he would have brought sadness to Valdrova. Count Olvera demands an explanation. Ferda has only met Thessalos today, so how can he claim to know what the dead man would do? Ferda gives the lords an answer they cannot accept. Valdrova wants humans to live happily, and Thessalos will oppose that wish. The problem is that his betrayal belongs to a distant future Ferda has already seen. He cannot show proof here in the arena. To the lords, this sounds like murder based on a mad guess. Ferda tells them not to worry because their opinion does not matter to him. Then he leaves the bloody arena. Soon a carriage carries him and Lurian away, while his body begins to feel the cost of the battle. Ferda is dizzy, sick from the moving carriage, and almost empty of mana after using so many mana shots, yet Lurian is more concerned about the man he killed. She sarcastically calls Thessalos one of Valdrova's finest loyal subjects. Ferda asks whether she is serious. Lurian explains that Thessalos was only moderately corrupt, which sadly makes him better than most Eastern lords. Ferda remembers a very different man. Even now, Thessalos should be hiding a serious crime. If that memory is correct, Ferda can prove the execution was justified. As the carriage reaches House Vulture's castle, Ferda tells Lurian the engagement can continue because they are about to find evidence. An old servant welcomes them, but Ferda immediately announces that the master is dead. He throws the servant a tied bag and orders its contents displayed where everyone at the castle gate can see them. Then Ferda walks into Thessalos' private bedroom. The rich room looks untouched, yet he knows it hides something. Lurian warns that if he cannot prove the dead lord was wicked, even Valdrova may end the engagement. Ferda searches beneath the bed and finds a hidden mechanism. Lurian does not wait for a key. One punch breaks through the floor and opens a path underground. Red light rises from a stone staircase, followed by the smell of old blood. At the bottom, Ferda and Lurian discover the real House Vulture. Human arms, monster legs, bones, and bodies cover a secret laboratory. This is not the work of a slightly corrupt noble. It is the work of someone who abandoned his humanity and used living bodies as material. Lurian studies the evidence and finally sees what Ferda knew. Thessalos was a demon follower, a dark mage, and a necromancer. He connected a dead soldier's organs to monster flesh and filled the room with failed experiments. That crime alone is enough to execute a noble. Ferda keeps searching through the papers because this laboratory hides more than bodies. He finds the main research Thessalos protected, a method built around the fact that monsters constantly create mana. The plan tries to copy that process and turn it into usable human power. The method is both cruel and brilliant. Monster mana is usually dirty and useless, but Thessalos tried to clean it inside bodies made from human and monster parts. If successful, the result would be an endless source of magic that could pass normal circle limits. Thessalos wanted that power for revenge. He planned to crush the nobles who sent him away from the capital, raise an undead army, and attack Valdrova's territory. The hidden proof is complete. Ferda did not kill a loyal subject. He stopped a future disaster before it could begin. But the discovery also offers Ferda an enormous reward. In his former life, the same nameless method helped him reach 8th Circle much faster. Taking it now could shorten his path back to power. Lurian watches him read and believes no human mage could reject such a chance. Ferda sees the same promise Thessalos saw: endless mana, freedom from ordinary limits, and the strength to destroy every enemy. For a moment, the answer seems clear. Then Ferda remembers why he returned. Strength is useless if gaining it turns him into Valdrova's enemy again. Ferda orders Lurian to destroy the research and everything in the laboratory. Magic carries the emotions of its creator, and Thessalos filled this method with anger and hate. Ferda's red circle is especially open to those feelings. If he accepts the power, the old madness may return. Lurian lights the papers with blue fire, and the secret laboratory burns around them. Ferda watches the easy road to 8th Circle vanish, then smiles. This choice protects Valdrova, so he has no regret. The day of the engagement finally arrives. Ferda walks through Valdrova's castle in a white ceremonial uniform, holding vows he wrote himself. Lurian follows with the last supplies, but her face remains tense. She still does not trust this human completely, even after everything he has done. At the same time, she truly wants Valdrova to be happy. When Ferda touches his clean clothes, Lurian quickly warns him not to wrinkle them. Her sharp words hide a simple fear: if this bond fails, her master will be hurt again. On the way, Ferda asks about the Eastern Territory. The lords he met did not look ready to protect any front line. Lurian confirms his suspicion. Many of them fill their own pockets while soldiers and common people suffer. They hold public anger down with military force, so a major revolt could begin at any time. Ferda asks why Valdrova does not step in herself. Lurian says he is about to understand. They stop before a huge stone door deep inside the lair, where thousands of candles wait for a private ceremony. Ferda kneels alone before the closed door. Even the air coming through it feels heavy enough to crush him. A golden dragon eye watches from the darkness while Lurian begins the ritual. Mortal and immortal will become one. A bottle and shallow bowl sit on the small table. Lurian pours a pale drink and explains that the mortal must cast away fear of the unknown. Ferda lifts the bowl and drinks, his eyes open wide. This is not gentle ceremonial wine. It is powerful enough to make the dragon pressure around him slowly fade. Now the immortal must cast away endless loneliness. But before Valdrova can drink, a hidden dragon tail knocks the bowl off the table. Lurian replaces it and starts again. Then it happens again, and again. A short while later, Ferda is still kneeling and drinking each replacement, because the ritual must restart from the beginning. This is his first alcohol in the new timeline, and he has already had far too much. His face turns red, his balance weakens, and even Lurian realizes the ceremony is becoming dangerous. Another sound comes from behind the door. Ferda bends over the table and asks for a moment to recover. Lurian finally loses patience. She yells at her master for causing trouble while her fiancé waits. Ferda suddenly sits up and shouts that he endured every bowl. Lurian's next command shakes the chamber. Valdrova must come out and greet him properly. The volume throws the drunk Ferda backward. This is the strange truth behind the feared Grand Duchess. The dragon who can destroy armies is hiding from one young human. Lurian keeps shouting until the lair seems to roar. Ferda, now badly drunk, calls it almost as impressive as dragon breath. Then, Lurian explains why Valdrova never manages the Eastern Lords herself. Her master has severe social anxiety. She avoids humans and leaves the lair only when monsters must be hunted. Ferda looks at the chained door in disbelief. At last, one clawed hand grips its edge. A tall figure steps through, covered from head to toe in red and gold armor. Valdrova came to her engagement dressed for a battlefield. Ferda expected a beautiful human form. Instead, the armored dragon kneels across from him with her face completely hidden. He watches nervously as Lurian resumes the ceremony. Mortal and immortal will become one. Valdrova places her armored hands on her knees while Lurian pours a fresh bowl. Ferda gives a small, uncertain wave. The woman inside the helmet remains quiet, but she did come out. For someone who fears human contact this deeply, simply taking that place at the table is an act of courage. The ceremony can finally move forward. Valdrova drinks the engagement wine. When she lowers the bowl, a small smile appears beneath the helmet. Ferda's remaining fear disappears. Perhaps the wine helped, but the smile matters more. This is not the terrifying dragon from the battlefield. It is the lonely woman who chose to sit before him. Lurian tells Ferda to read the vows he prepared. He looks at the page, then back at Valdrova. The normal words suddenly feel empty. He has returned from death for this moment, so he decides to say what only the two of them can truly understand. Ferda begins with the gift that changed everything. Valdrova once gave him her heart. Through it, he felt her pain and learned who she really was. Humans betrayed and insulted her many times, yet she never abandoned the duty she had chosen. Even when Ferda hated her for no reason, she accepted him. Her heart corrected his path and gave him a second chance. Now he offers his own heart in return. He calls Valdrova his sovereign, his everything, and the woman who saved him from becoming the same monster again. Ferda adds one line that was never written on the page. He is honored to be engaged to someone so beautiful. Valdrova freezes, rises, and runs out before she can read her own vow. Lurian still declares the ceremony complete and asks Ferda to let her master hide for 3 days. At first, she thinks Valdrova planned everything. Then pages begin to fall from the hidden chamber. They are Valdrova's many vow drafts. The armored dragon was not unwilling. She had prepared again and again because she wanted the sponge just as much as Ferda did.